Okay, so let's sip and we're starting.
Okay.
Mm-mm-mm. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Ladies and
Silence.
gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads, children ages 21 and older, welcome. Welcome to the first kiss of Sombra Reposé.
I am Chava Perivan. He
And I am
is
Luke Bank.
and welcome everybody. The first thing that we're gonna do before we say anything else and we forget about this, pour your spirits.
Pour.
Before
What about your wine? Shouldn't you pour your wine
Oh
too?
yes, there's also fermented drink in the mix. So you were supposed to drink the wine before, right when it got to you. But if you haven't, pour it down. Pour everything at once. Why will they pour everything at once, Lou?
You mean into the same vessel? Just
No,
mix
no,
it
no,
all?
no. Do not do that, please. This is not TGI Fridays.
Right. Everything that if you didn't drink the wine, shame on you. You should have. Chava's correct. I believe I sent out instructions. You wouldn't
Yes.
be the first person to not follow my instructions if you didn't. Um, uh, if you didn't, it's okay. Like, well, it's not okay, but there's nothing. There's no going back now. So pour everything. If you've got four vessels or three vessels, if you finish the wine, pour it now. And you're going to pour it now for two reasons, right? Chava, it's two reasons. One is it's going to make the room where you are sitting smell like a little bit of heaven. And that little bit of heaven happens to be Oaxaca.
Yeah, and if you heard out the COVID recommendations, go against them. Close all your windows, close all your doors. Try to get these vapors to concentrate in where you are.
I
And
think
then this,
actually that follows the guidelines because then it's the alcohol like killing anything that could hurt you.
yeah, maybe. Now, do not listen to this as professional advice. But
No.
then the second reason, what's the second reason, Lou?
The second reason is the second. I don't know, Chava. What is the second reason?
Well, the second reason is we don't have a scientific way to support this theory, but somehow these things get to taste really good if they've been sitting around for a little bit.
Well, the
We
oxygenation. That's the. I guess that
Yeah,
is the. Yeah.
but we're not absolutely sure if that's why. But
No.
there's something that happens that we're still trying to study. We have some insurance in universities doing the proper research, and maybe in a few years we'll know what's the case. But
But hasn't
that's
this
it.
been studied with wine before, Chava?
I'm
Isn't
pretty
that a?
sure. Yeah, I'm sure. But not with spirits, not with mezcal. So let's just say we don't know for now.
Okay. So then, look, you've got everything poured. You should really just start drinking. You don't have to wait for us to talk about a spirit to taste it. You should
Oh no.
drink but the question then becomes, in what order should you drink it? What's your order? And I'm thinking, right? So I'm thinking you go Joven, followed by 4 month, followed by 6 month, and if you still have the wine, then do the wine. That's what I'm thinking.
No, I think that's a terrible idea. I think you should go the other way. I think you should do Benjamin Button like style, which is 6 months, 4 months, young, and well,
What
first the wine actually.
first the wine, and what's your reasoning?
Well, I think that for my palate at least, the 6 month was a lot more. It has a lot of subtleties to it that I think I'm not saying the young doesn't have it, but for me, it was easier to catch some of that stuff before going to the young expression.
So that is the order in which you tried them.
Yeah. I started with the oldest one. I went to the youngest one.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, okay, I get that. To me, it was about actually I would have gone Joven wine 4 month, 6 month, because to me that gives you like here's what the originals were, and then here's what they are sort of combined in different ways. But hey, you know what? The key is drink it however you want to drink it. But I guess you know what? I'm going to defer to my smarter companion here, and let's talk about these then in that order that we're going to go wine 6 month, 4 month, Joven then. Yeah? Did I do that right,
Yes,
Chava?
but but we only have 45 minutes to do this, right? Or how long?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, only 30, 35 now. You've eaten up 10
Jeez.
minutes with your nonsense.
Okay, well, I have some people agree with my Benjamin Button approach,
I
but
think everybody just likes saying Benjamin Button.
it feels nice in the word. It's like the word
Yeah,
mezcal, right?
yeah.
But I think we could eat 30 minutes just picking out the wine. We had the best conversation with Guillaume Cuvelier about this, and we were
Who is
supposed.
who is Guillaume?
Guillaume is the guy that really like made this possible. He happens to be very lucky, Lou. Like
I don't
the
think he's a lucky person. I think he's a skillful person. But you
well,
keep
Yeah, but he also has some family connections that not a lot of us have.
That's fair. So Guillaume, besides being the, I think he's the chairman of Davos Brands, right? So Davos Brands owns Sombra. I think do they still own Aviation Gin? I don't know.
They
They
do. Yeah,
certainly
they do. Yeah.
they do. Okay, so they certainly own Sombra, and they also own Château Léoville Poyferré.
No, no, no. Davos doesn't own Château Léoville Poyferré. It is his family. It's his cousin's business.
Oh, it's his cousins, so it's
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah,
family.
yeah.
I got you.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
so he's like yeah. So anyway, they were he told us this story where they were in Oaxaca, they were experimenting, prototyping, like trying to come up with some ideas of how do we make this yeah, like how do we come with certain ways to interact with the mezcal. And he suddenly remembered that he's connected to a family that has been running winemaking place in
He
Bordeaux for the
suddenly
last
remembered. He suddenly remembered that his family is one of the oldest families making wine in France, in Bordeaux.
in
In
Bordeaux,
Bordeaux.
Bordeaux, Bordeaux. Please pronounce.
I
They're like,
forgot. I've been so busy drinking gin and mezcal, I forgot. I got this wine.
yeah, and it's just like it really blew my mind. Like we're not the biggest wine kids. You have a fundamental grudge against grapes for reasons that we.
You know what though? Guillaume was just so eloquent. I'm not going to say that I am now in love with grapes, but I was taken. I was a little smitten. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I think that one part that you were a little bit doubtful and that he really cleared up was like as much as we talk about heritage in agave spirits, there's a lot of it in wine and it's documented. There's papers that talk about this. And just to give you an example, the certification that it's attached to the place where this wine comes was established in 1855.
1855.
That's
So so new.
yeah, just a few hundred years, like then
You
then
know the,
then
the the piece, but the piece that he said that actually I think it was the two of you. You might have even introduced the subject that he was talking about that I was really taken by was how they would trim off some of the grapes from the
Mhm.
vine, right? Like sacrifice some of the grapes so that you would get more of the sugars concentrated in fewer of the grapes. So you'd have fewer grapes, but you'd have better grapes. And that to me was, and am I nuts, or did he actually tell us at one point that it was they figured it out because some goats were eating the grapes?
I think you're not crazy. I think he actually
Yeah,
said that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which
Eh,
which made me want to eat the goats, but those goats are long dead now.
yeah. You actually asked for them. You wanted to make barbacoa with French goats, and
Yeah,
just it wasn't possible, too expensively. But
yeah.
so anyway, there were a number of things that he explained to us that I think they really rephrase how I understand wine. And then the obvious question, because we're talking about the Sombra Reposé, was like, what's up with the barrel? Like, the barrel is a rather new piece of technology in the wine context. If we talk about wine, it's rather old. And, like the Greeks, the Roman, all of these guys were making wine. I didn't use barrels. They used clay amphoras, right? So we were asking him like, okay, so when did the barrel came in, and why did it come in? And we had a beautiful clip that we had
Oh,
extracted from
we
this
still
conversation.
have it. We
Oh
still
yeah,
have a beautiful clip. We do. We just
yeah.
can't figure out how to play it on our computers. We tried beforehand in our testing, and we could play it, but you couldn't hear it. Now we thought about we can't. Neither of us is very good at the French accent, and Chava's better than I am. But we thought it would be disrespectful and rude to speak over his video. So instead, Chava, would you care to explain what he explained to us? And
Well,
then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the whole. We talked to him for like an hour, right? He gave us an hour of his time.
I think an hour and a half, but it felt like 10 minutes. It was awesome. I
Yeah,
like best conversation of my month.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So we're gonna put the whole thing up on the Agave Road Trip YouTube page tomorrow, and you're all gonna everybody's gonna get an email because there's so many people who couldn't attend this evening. We're gonna be sending out an email to everyone tomorrow with a link to the video of this because it's so damn fascinating, and then a link to the interview with Guillaume,
yes,
so you'll be
awesome.
able to watch that then. Yeah. Anyway, so what exactly did he tell us,
Well, he
young
he
Java?
told us something that I think it's fundamental for understanding this experiment. He said that the barrel it's a newer piece of technology if you see at the big spectrum of what wine is and has been historically, and that it has been misunderstood sometimes. He says that when the Americans discovered the wine, they thought that the objective was to extract the oak flavor of the barrels. And they made terrible things with this approach. What he
which is
said,
which is how we developed the term over oaked.
maybe, I was not familiar with that. He just said they were so dry they were unpalatable. You wouldn't drink them. And that the real objective of the barrel was to micro oxygenate the wine and really allow for the tannins to develop. So the wood, it's made out of fibers. A tiny little bit percentage of oxygen will travel from the outside to the inside and would allow for the tannins to develop properly. I don't know absolutely what does that mean to a level of specificity, but it sounds like something interesting that I would love to research more. Thing was that that's like I don't know for you, Lou, but that sort of blew my mind a little bit to me because you are like maybe I was like these Americans that first discovered wine. I always thought that the barrel, the objective is to was to get that oak flavor into it,
Hmm.
not to use it as a way to
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 allow the
create
oxygen to interact with the
and to
chemical
create
elements of
these
the wine.
very complex interactions
Right, right. And,
and
and I wouldn't have guessed that either, frankly. And it actually kind of took me one step further from wine. And what I mean by that is, like, so part of what we talk about, or at least I talk about, when I'm talking about agave spirits, is that you've got these plants that are the sugar source, and the plants, and instead of being like the grapes, which are 4 months old when they're harvested, the plants are anywhere from 3 years to, let's say, 25 years, maybe more, when they're harvested, which means you've got all of this aged stuff in there that ends up in the ferment and then the spirit after you distilled it. And so I thought, well, maybe then the connector there with the wine is that when you put the wine into this barrel, well, the barrel's made from trees. And those trees lived for at least 40 years. You got to figure
yeah.
maybe 20 years at least. Let's say 20 years at least before they use it to make barrels. And apparently not.
What why is not the case? Yeah,
Well,
they
because
just
it's not like he said, you over oak it then, so
uh-huh.
that in fact it's just about allowing the oxygen in, and I'm guessing then it's going to be relatively the same thing. Though there's definitely oak elements in the. So maybe this is where we move over to the which one do you want to do, the 6 month now?
I would do the 6 month because and he was explaining this to us also in a way that a lot of the technologies that have been used to make spirits and fermented drinks have traveled, right? Think about the copper steel. The copper
Hmm.
steel traveled from Europe to Mexico. The Filipino steel traveled from Asia to Mexico, and then many other pieces of technology have done the same thing. Like we were talking with Lalo in Santa Catarina Minas, and he actually is a little bit about annoyed about that Taona. He says that's a rather new thing, like seeing the big spectrum of mezcal making. So, but I really think that the reason why mezcal is such a diverse, beautiful drink is because it has been always been very welcoming to these foreign influences. It has been, like a very fertile ground to bring stuff from other places and just create new expressions. So and he was saying that actually the same barrels that they use in Bordeaux, they use in cognac. So to use these specific barrels for spirits, it's not a new thing. It's just a new thing to have them travel all the way to Oaxaca, right? I think you even wanted to buy some of the used barrels that they're using for Sombra to ferment pulque, but that's a whole different story.
That's right. Oh, sweet pulque.
But anyway,
Oh,
we're gonna start with 6 months. No, Lou?
yeah. So let's start with the 6 month. So okay. So well, actually, you know what? Let's talk about the two side by side. So what's the difference between 4 month and 6 month? Obviously, 2 months. But realistically, like, then what is the difference? You're drinking them. What do you think the difference is in flavor? I'm not drinking them. I'm on my intermittent fast period.
Yeah, he has become a fitness queen. So yeah, he has these things. Um, I
Hey,
sorry.
hey, and Persia's gonna sell me some barrels, so I've got my pulque experiment ready to go.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, I honestly, at least for my palate, I like to always say that every mouth is a mutant, right?
Hmm.
You were not eating carnitas when you were 4 years old. I was.
Mm-mm.
Therefore, my palate takes some things, doesn't take others, likes some things, doesn't like. Well, like, it actually likes everything, just doesn't recognize some. And I think for my palate, the 6 month is it's a little bit more complex, a little bit rounder. I love the aftertaste. It stays in my mouth for a lot longer. I think the 4 month it's a little bit sharper, comes
Hmm.
stronger, and it's something that I would love in shots. Actually, I have to say, what I love shots, but I think it's just for me it's crazy that in 2 months you can have such different development, right?
Hmm.
That 2 months can great make such a drastic difference in a spirit that started from a plant that took 6 years to grow.
And okay, so and these are both reposado, right?
Hmm.
And reposado is it up to a year, and then over a year it becomes añejo? This tells you how often I drink, right? Wood aged
Well,
spirits.
which like I also don't under no means. But like this is well I do sometimes, but I actually find this a lot. I just love the multiculturality of this approach. I think right, like everybody's doing the bourbon barrels, and that's cool. That's awesome. Like
Sure, sure, sure.
I'm just surprised that this hasn't been tried for more people before. No, like that
Well, how do
that
you get Bordeaux barrels?
well
Like I
that
don't. Like I get the bourbon barrels. It's just okay. We'll send them south. We got to do something with them. We can only use, isn't it? You can only use them once in bourbon, and then you got to do something with them so they sell them to all the breweries. And so like I get that, but the expense of shipping barrels over from France is not
well,
insignificant.
and you have to be cousins with someone that has an operation like that, right?
But
It's
yeah, but it makes me wonder. Like okay, so there's the 4 month and the 6 month, and I'm wondering like, is there an añejo coming? And I'm not. This is not me being coy. They were kind enough to give us the first kiss of the spirit, but you know, I'm not like I didn't have any. I don't know any secrets. Are there any Persia? Like, do you know? Is it like are you looking at if there's that much difference between 4 month and 6 month? What does 6 month to 13 month look like,
oh
right?
yeah, that was lovely. Yeah, and I think like for me it's very exciting that we get to chase some research and development, right? Like that we have the access
We are
oh,
testing it. There
we're
you go. So
testing it.
Persia says that they're testing it, but it's not in the works, just a test. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, don't worry, Lou. I'm going to Oaxaca. I'm gonna take the first sample. I'm gonna keep it for myself. Gonna keep you a little bottle. Uh, but yeah, and I think like that being said, I think it's really important. We've talked a lot about the wine by now. I think that it's important to talk of a little bit of the agave. Like I had this doubt, right? When you go to the supermarket, you like fruits, you like to cook, you like vegetables, and you have certain ways to try to know if a banana is a good banana or a bad banana, right?
Sure.
No, no, like, well,
I mean, yeah, I get it. Like you're smelling it and you're looking at color. I get that. Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
like
Okay.
in some places they don't allow you to touch it. That's the best part about Mexican markets. You can touch everything, so you can know if it's ripe, if it's not ripe. And I had this question of how do you do that with agaves? Like how in Sombra do they know if it's a good agave, a mediocre agave, if it's pretty or not pretty? And I think we wanted to ask that to Pablo, correct?
Yeah, we do. Hey, there's two Pablos on here. I hope I got the right one. Hmm.
No,
Maybe
I
I don't
think
because he's not coming up. I'm gonna go with the second one then. Too many Pablos.
Oh, and Sarah is asking a beautiful question. Why didn't I see that before?
I
How
don't know.
long did your vintage to the barrels are used at Château Léoville Poyferré before being transferred to this project with Sombra? I believe they're only being used once. It's only one vintage, as far as we understood from Guillaume. Thanks, Sarah, for making the very technical, beautiful question.
There we go.
And actually, I just want to connect that to another thing. They're only going to be using each barrel for one reposé of sombra, so
Oh,
they're not
wait, so
using
we
for
could do, we
multiple.
really can do, I thought maybe my God, are you not messing like Persia? I really can't get a barrel and we could do pulque with it? I'm sorry. Okay, I guess I'll have my private conversations privately. No, Pablo, you can turn it on. You can always laugh while we're talking. In fact, it'd be shocking if you didn't laugh while we were talking. Pablo, Rania, welcome to First Kiss, Pablo.
Thank you very much, Lou. I've been laughing a lot. Hola, Chava, ¿cómo están?
Muy bien, Pablo,
Here in
candida.
Oaxaca? No.
No, in Mexico City, you know, Chilango. I like
A huevo.
I like my quesadillas with brains. If you have any brains.
I love it. I
He
love it.
he he
I
likes his
always ask,
quesadilla with brains, but apparently not his co-host with brains. So there you go.
I always ask my quesadilla with cheese because
Yeah, right.
Mexico City. Yeah, of course, man. Because
Well,
we invented.
Pablo, so here's my crazy, like, as I was saying, how do you know that if it's a good agave, and where do you know, like, we don't want to cut this, we hate this agave, this is not being used for mezcal, like, we're gonna throw this away, like, how like, what expertise does it take? What are you looking for? The worms, the size, the color, what's it?
First of all, I don't hate agaves. None of them. All of them are
Beautiful.
living things. They have their time. They have it's they spend a lot of time on Earth figuring out how to survive in the same space, like for 8 years maybe. So some of them like make it like more difficult. Some of them were like two generation son from a mother, so they don't have the same strength as a first generation hijuelo. So some of them they're different. They try to survive. They do their best if you give them like education. Let's call it that way.
Some love.
And I love, yeah, and a lot of care. So saying this is you need to look at your agave. No, there are like some signs that are pretty easy to find out. No, like the quiote, and I think that's and the cogollo. Like where all the leaves start like sprouting. So
Right.
that's a pretty nice signal when they are still like you can see the agaves that they stop just promoting more leaves and they just stop getting like flatter in the top and
Okay.
the rest of the leaves start just like opening a little bit more so they look like more horizontal more than round. So
Mm.
that's a great that those called we call it pabilos or well, pabilos is a good word. And the ones with the quiote when you cut it it's called capon. So that's a first approach to the agave. The next one is like we grow the agave in now in San Dionisio we have some, but mostly
Mm.
in San Juan del Rio. So it's normal to see how the plants start changing the color from the bottom to the top and start appearing like this like yellowish. It turns
Mm.
like a pretty nice green, then turns like mellow green, and at the end it's yellow. What tells me is that chlorophyll, sorry, it's dying there. No, it's like
Mm.
when fruits are ripening, they start like losing this green color and start appearing the color that we know about the fruits. They exist already there, but chlorophyll is just dying, so they expose the colors. So
Huh.
that's a little kind of guide when the bottom is turning a little bit losing the chlorophyll. So it's like, oh, if you check like the first three ones, it's like this one is the best. No, we cannot take a lot longer because we don't want like it's a plant that is all the sugars are turning into a liquid way to promote the quiote. So they are very fermentable actually at that time, and plaques actually and picudos started just waiting for that moment to say like, oh Jesus, agave, you are doing it for me. Yeah, I'm just eating your roots and the bottom of you. So that there's where you can see like the small holes comes in the bottom of the agave. So
Mm.
we don't like to spend a lot of time with agaves in the field, but like when you have capones, 6 months is good, but you will start finding a little bit of bugs. We are not against them, but we prefer not to have like a very picado, something someone's call it. Like these
Mhm.
are actually a fermentation in the bottom of the agave where the picudos start like eating up a little bit, and there's the yeasts start fermenting there. So there you have these pencas that now smell like vinegar, like
Wow.
alcoholic thing. So
S- Just to
Mhm.
just to put a fine point on what you're saying, Pablo, are you telling me that you actually capone all of your espadines?
no, 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 no. We try to do the best we can, but sometimes you have like different agaves that are growing, and some of them is like, okay, we need to cook them. We need 12 tons, so we got the ones that we store a little bit, and then if to reach up the batch, we cut the ones that are just about to bloom the quiote.
Got
So
it.
it's not that we only use capones, because it will be like very very difficult to just pick them, and we pick them, but only getting capones, it will be like pretty hard.
Trying to
And also,
manage, yeah, trying to manage that
No,
would be
what I find fascinating about this is like even when you're using a single varietal of agave, there's a mix of life experiences, if you will, of the different agaves, right? Some have been attacked by picudo, some have been capones, some have been losing chlorophyll. So you have like this symphony of different sounds that you have to put together to make sense, no? Even if if it's all espadin, which I find really fascinating.
yes, yes, they all have their own, their spots. They're you're in a concert, just receiving the sun every day and trying to catch as much water and stop losing it every day. So they have like different, maybe it's a different spot where they are just hanging around for 9 years. So there's where you can see that at some point where sometimes water tends to be accumulated, the agaves, some of them get broken and some of them get bigger, and then the one that is next, that all the water just moves around, is like pretty small. So you have, as you say, different dynamics, different. I would say, like, yeah, it's about dynamics, about in agaves. It's beautiful that these plants are desertic plants. They can survive. I cannot survive 2 hours under the sun, and these guys do it 9 years. So
Oh,
I,
it's
I
awesome.
respect that.
Okay, so last question because it's a fast and furious attack of questions, and I think this is a great thing, and it's like, do you chase the bricks on the plant? So like the most important thing about alcohol is to get a lot of sugars, right? So if there's an agave that has almost no sugars, do you discard it? Do you prefer the ones that have more sugars? What's the dynamic there?
We will leave it in the field in order to that guy develops enough. So
Okay.
because when they're the bricks helps you to see, it's sugar mainly, but also tells you about maturity of the agave. So when you have lower bricks, sometimes the agave apports more, maybe waxes from the agave than sugars. So it's like more biomass than sugars actually. So when some mezcaleros start using like pretty or very young agaves, what you are doing is promote a lot of methanol in your mezcal at the end. No, it will be like the consequence, because a lot of skin, less sugar. So the rates will be will be a rates there.
There you go, Mike. That's your answer. Thank you very much, Pablo. So
Thank
I
you very
think
much.
I love your glass, by the way. Shakisha.
Uh,
I'm
Takisha,
drinking.
yes, yes, yes.
I'm drinking my
What
wine out
was
of it.
woo? Was on
Yeah,
purpose, man.
yeah, I know. We're coordinated. We called each other. Well, cheers. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
thanks.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna move you back to attendee. Don't be offended, Pablo.
Let me drink alone.
And you know what, Lou? I think you also coordinated with John McAvoy because he's asking the one question that we should have answered early on and we did not. He's asking, and I'm gonna use his voice. While I love mezcal repos and añejos, a lot of people dismiss them and say they are not traditional. What do you say to that crowd? Thanks, John.
Thanks. Yeah, this is something that we've talked about a lot on our podcast. Agave Road Trip, available at agaveroadtrip.com. I was just a few years ago. God, it's really funny. This journalist David, oh my God, David Hammond. He was writing articles about mezcal in the Chicago Tribune back in, I want to say it was 2016, and he wrote two very quickly, one after the other. Um, and said things in there that I thought, oh, that's just, it's not accurate, David. It's not accurate. And he was talking about how mezcal could be añejo and reposado. And so I sent him a note after the first one saying, hey, maybe we should talk. And after the second one, I said, hey, how about we do a tasting? Because I think there's some stuff I need to clarify for you. And we had this whole interview, and he wrote this beautiful article with me correcting his mistakes. And one of
Wow.
those, yeah, and one of those was that, oh, David, you'd never, if you had a good mezcal, you'd never age it in wood, because there's this school of thought that that it's the school that I learned it from because in some communities there is no tradition of aging mezcal in wood. But it turns out there's more than one community in Mexico making spirits from agave. And some of those communities, as as we both very well know now that we've gone on so many agave road trips, some of those communities, in fact, they have a great history of aging their mezcal in wooden barrels.
Yes, and actually, Guillaume was it was really interesting. Started speaking with him because when I was trying to try to uncover the origin of the barrel, I was like, okay, Guillaume, how did this start? Like, when was the moment when people decided to start using barrels? And he said, well, it was logistics, it was transportation. You know, it was a lot less fragile than ceramics. It weighted less. It was easier, or at time cheaper to manufacture. So it was just barrels, and
Yeah,
that
which
happened in Mexico. That happened in Mexico as well.
right, which also brings to mind for me every time I hear it, it brings to mind this trend that started several years ago of rapid aging or more rapidly
No, yeah, that's
aging.
lovely.
I think it was rum in barrels by putting the barrels onto ships. So the ships on the water going back and forth, and so you've got the liquid moving in the barrel, and it's coming into contact. Different parts of the spirits coming into contact with wood, and so it's sort of it's expediting the aging. And the picture that we saw at Mariano's Venata in Durango of his grandfather or his
Great grandfather, yeah.
great grandfather transporting mezcal from their small community over the mountain into Durango City on these donkeys with the barrel strapped to the side. Like that is the exact same thing as those ships.
Exactly,
So.
and we don't know all of Mexico. You know, as I think I can say it's safe to say that we've traveled quite a while. We travel a lot around this country, but I love, not, well, I have. I'm from here. I live
No
in
fair.
Mexico. I've traveled more than you. But, you know, I like to say Mexico is not a country, it is a continent. And then within this continent, we have different countries. There's Durango, there's Michoacan, there's Oaxaca. And within those places, that you have like so many different crazy regions. And and there's so much wood in Mexico, and there's such high quality wood. So I can assure you that the more we research, we're gonna start finding more people that has done this in the past.
And I
So it's
can't wait to restart our research.
okay. But that being said, and I think, is there anything else that we want to say about the big wide world of reposados? Because I think, it's rare that we're here talking about reposados, and something else that I'd like to say is that, in a way, for me, reposados, what they do is they acknowledge that in Mexico there's other weathers. Like when I talk to gringos, sometimes they say Mexico, yeah, it's always very warm. And I go like, have you been to Cuernavaca? Have you been to all these places in Mexico that are
Oh,
very crazy cold?
I was traveling from Guadalajara, yeah, from Guadalajara to Oaxaca in July of 2018 with a group of chefs and journalists by car. And we passed through a mountain range somewhere. I honestly don't remember where. I want to say Michoacan, but I wouldn't swear to it. And there was snow in July in Mexico. So yes, to your point, like you could, or at least a little frost. There was a little frost
Yeah,
in July. Yeah.
and I think reposados and añejos are so wonderful in this weather.
So all we are saying is give wood a chance.
Yeah, and if you
Yeah.
have a, like a nice fire in front of you, in a nice stone house, and some forest around you, so like, no, it's just nicer.
And a piece of wood that has this beautiful Bordeaux wine in it for 18 months. So, yes,
Okay,
yes.
and
Anyway,
now we're jumping to the John, to the typical, pleasant, marvelous
wait, we're
young
jumping to
son.
the Joven. I just brought Andres up. Was I supposed to do that?
Well, yes, of course, because we're entering to the last part of this story, and that's why we want Andres into this conjunction. How do
Okay.
you say that in English? Concoction.
Sure, concoction. We'll go with that.
Great. Hola, Andres. How are you doing?
Very good, amigos. Nice to see you again.
See you too.
It's
Saludcita.
still this way, but hopefully sometime in here in Guadalajara, where I live, or in Oaxaca anytime.
Let's hope so. Or Mexico City. You're also invited to my city, Andres. Don't you worry.
Or
That's
Chicago, we can all get vaccinated and have hot dogs.
Yeah, you know, Chicago is my favorite city in the States. Sorry to break some hearts around, but dude, they have the best music festival ever.
Which one is that?
Riot
I-
Fest, of course. Come on.
Riot
Oh,
Fest?
we're gonna have something to talk about post show, Andres. We have something. We seriously, I didn't realize you were a Riot Fest fan. I was waiting for the Pitchfork or the Lollapalooza. Or oh, okay.
No, they still have to work some around, some heavy music, some heavy stuff around, you know.
Awesome.
But not
Are you aging with music, the reposé? Is that a thing? I've seen that, right? Sometimes they put classical music, some Rachmaninoff. You're not doing that, right? That's not part of the process.
dude, I love musical pairing with mezcal. I mean, I think heavy metal or punk rock really pairs with mezcal very good. And actually, this is one of those things that we talk up with Mike all the time, with Mike GR, even when we do live streamings or when we talk privately. You know, we always talk about some albums that could pair really well while drinking some mezcal.
Lovely.
So
Yeah,
I could spend hours talking about this, but I
but
don't
we're
want
here to talk about the very serious things. And we brought you here because we're getting to the end of this presentation.
Oh,
And
we
we want to
really
get,
are. Oh my
well, we
goodness, there's only
are.
4 minutes left. Okay, yeah.
Okay, okay, we're gonna be super fast about this. You have some little houses by you. What the hell is that, Andres? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
just some agave cookies that I like to eat while I'm drinking mezcal.
Is this like some kind of handmade version of Monopoly that they have in Mexico that I've not seen?
No, no.
Actually, these are adobe bricks. Well, uh, they're made from vinaza, bagazo, and dirt, sometimes even sand. I mean, adobe bricks are an old construction technique in Mexico, but we managed to co-op with a group of architects that studied what to do with the waste of the distillation, especially mainly the first distillation, that every liter of mezcal that you produce, uh, or any producer makes, if you make a liter of mezcal, you will have like 10 to 15 liters of vinaza, which is a pretty acidic waste. It's a residual liquid that it really stinks. Actually, it smells pretty bad. It's very acidic, so it can kill the sea life, leaves it with no oxygen, and it also affects the land. Not right away, but in long term. So we decided to join this architect so we can do something useful with the waste of the distillation. So imagine if we make a liter of mezcal, we have 10 to 15 liters of waste. We
Whoa, whoa,
want to
whoa,
have
whoa,
something
whoa,
useful
whoa,
with it.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down, slow down. Say that again. That's an
Yeah,
important number. For every liter of mezcal, how much vinazas?
10 to 15 liters.
10 to
yeah.
15 times? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but you know what's crazy about this, Lou and Andres? Like something that sort of blows my mind. It's a thing. Sometimes when people talk about traditional processes, it's almost like if they were sanctified, like if they were, holy things that make no harm. Like if they
Hmm.
happened in a vacuum, it's usually that it was made by hand, so it has to be better. Like I don't know how that connection happens, right? You know what I'm saying, Lou? Like
I do know what you're saying, but if I'm understanding correctly, like making these spirits in an industrial way wouldn't reduce the vinazas, would it?
no, 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 but making it by hand wouldn't either. And I think it's something we
Oh,
don't quite talk a lot about. It's sort of this was traditionally made, it was artisanally made, and then like there's no consequences to making this, but there are. And I think it's so important to start thinking about what to do with these consequences in every level: Venus's emissions, the health of the like. We all love this picture of the smoke coming out of the steel, but that's coming inside the producer's lungs, and that
no,
ain't cool,
no,
Lou. Like,
no.
you saw me crying one day. I was taking pictures of a kiln. I started crying like crazy. I was not emotional. It was all that smoke on my eyes. So, like, and I'm like, I would love to ask you, Andres, in that sense, like, are you patenting this technology and just keeping it for Sombra, or are you doing something? Are you trying to share it in some capacity?
No, I mean we've been always very open with everything that we do, eco-friendly wise. The doors of the Palenque have been always open. Of course, right now not much due to the pandemic,
Yeah.
naturally. But we've been always happy to show brand reps or brand owners or the industry in general how you can still make artisanal mezcal by using some eco-friendly add-ons in every part of the process. So especially this about the vinaza, we're very proud to show it constantly and to take people to our adobera, especially the students from UNAM that study architect students that come and
So,
help us
so,
out.
so UNAM is the biggest university in Latin America. It's in Mexico City. It's a small city. So it's the size of Amsterdam, I believe. If you've been to Amsterdam, Amsterdam is the size of UNAM.
Wow.
So it's yeah.
And the same stuff goes on, I'm guessing, because Amsterdam and universities.
They have better quality in UNAM, and I'm not gonna say what. Anyways, it's a massive alumni of different PhDs, masters, undergraduate programs. So you're inviting those kids into Sombra to learn and further research. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
And
also to volunteer and help us out to make more bricks and help us out to build these houses, especially for the ones that suffered the earthquakes in 2017, September, October 2017. That, as you may know, Chava, that you are from Mexico City, it also affected really bad. But some villages in Oaxaca have lost like around, at least in La Sierra Mije, they lost more than 700 houses. So we focused mainly on that area to help out. We did the census and the community helped us out to decide who were the people who needed that the most, by giving them away bricks or even by building their houses. So we don't hide this at all. I mean, we're very transparent and we want to show what can you do with your waste and how can you
But
help people too.
yeah, and something that I think you don't promote enough, and I'm gonna try to be the spokesman of this right now. It's adobe houses are sturdy things. They're thick, heavy, beautiful, earthquake-resistant entities. So if another earthquake comes by, because Oaxaca is a very seismic area, the likelihood that the houses of these people are not going to suffer is a lot higher than if you were to build them with concrete or in traditional ways, right? So I think that's really awesome. You're not only helping them rebuild something that was broken with an earthquake, but you're helping them, giving them technology that it's more earthquake resistance than the typical, concrete wall or brick wall that they will be constructing otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, these adobe bricks turned out to be 4 times more resistant than regular adobe bricks. And besides, I forgot.
Yeah. That's the fibers, Lou. You're making faces. The
yeah.
fibers make them flexible. It's like putting fiberglass inside the brick. It's
Oh my God.
awesome.
So the agave fiber,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
makes the adobe brick more resilient.
Yes.
I did not get that at all.
It's
That's
not only to make
awesome.
them pretty. It's not only to make them pretty. They look prettier. They're furry. They're lovely, but they also get flexible. It's like that's fiberglass. You have like all these different ways in which the brick can move without cracking.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
very, very cool. I did not, like this is the thing that I love so much about Mexico and specifically about these agave spirits is every time I think I've understood something, there's something else that shows up that like it either proves what I thought was right is wrong, or it shows me this whole other thing I didn't see before. That's beautiful.
Awesome. Well, Andres, again, this is a fast and furious Q&A. Thanks a lot. I'm using my fancy marble.
I love it.
Chicharita.
Yeah, I've seen it before. Yeah.
Cheers.
Salud. Salud, Andres.
Salud, guys. Nice to see you.
I see you
You
too.
too.
Hope to see you soon.
Too. So we should be closing, Senor Lu.
We should. So I want to I want to thank everybody who showed up here, both for the live show and then if you're watching it on tape, I still appreciate you showing up for that too. And I really want to thank Persia and John and everybody at Sombra and Guillaume for allowing us to do this first kiss of Sombra Reposé.
No, thanks a lot. And I really hope this is the beginning of a lot of experiments and prototypes, which I have the impression for Persia's comments that
It
this might
is.
just be the beginning.
We know that it is because we're now going to have a barrel that we can get fermented with. We can get some pulque fermented in it.
Okay, so we're making an event soon. Anything else? Anything? Questions? Questions? We haven't asked for questions.
Everybody knew they could send in questions throughout the thing. Nobody has
Yeah,
any more questions.
right.
You're like the clock's already run out. You don't need to run out the clock. We're
Oh,
done,
okay,
Chava.
okay, we're done. Okay,
Thank you,
cool.
everybody. Enjoy your Sombra, and we will catch you next time for another first kiss.
Adios.